Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, guys. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. I was a liar, I gave into the fire. If you're new here, thank you for stopping by. My name is Kadzo. Happy new decade. Happy 2020. We're grateful to be here. So many people weren't able to make it. First of all, thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and thank you to everyone who stuck around. So as usual, it's hot, so my fan is on, so that's why it's kind of noisy. So this video is going to be a recap of 2019. I usually want to look back on my year, and I think it's also important for you guys to also look back at your year and see what you've learned, where you need to apply yourself more, what mistakes you made, and all of that jazz, right? First of all, 2019 I turned 25. Can you guys believe it? 20 freaking 5. Honestly, I was not as scared as I thought I would be, just because this whole idea of getting older and all this pressure to perform and be at a certain point in life by a certain age. But like, I felt very calm. It wasn't even a big deal to me, to be honest. But like, one thing that made it like the most amazing birthday ever was that my friends threw me a surprise birthday party, and I got flowers and gifts and all of that, and I'm just so grateful to everyone who made that day so special for me. Also, I fell out of a friendship, a long time friendship, and I remember one time I was reading this blog on Pinterest, and it was talking about like 30 things you need to go through before you're 30. And one of those things was that you would lose you lose friendships, or you long-term friendships end. And I remember looking at that point and I was like, this hasn't happened to me, and it's not going to happen to me, and I'm probably never going to experience this, blah blah blah. Yo, it happened, and it was really like, I don't know, it's just the most weird thing ever, because this person has always been there since back in the day, and you just never imagine that it'll get to a point where you don't really talk to them or talk to each other. And I feel like, things don't just happen overnight. Like, things take time, and there's things boiling underneath and all that, and it's always better to address those things instead of just acting like they're not there. I know it's very hard to confront, especially someone who's close to you, but one thing that I've learned is that in relationships you really need loyalty, and loyalty is not about always accepting what someone says, or never disagreeing, or it's about being real with each other. And when someone isn't willing to accept the realness that you give to them, and it's not about being rude or being like, oh, I give real talk and blah blah, how people are, but really putting your point across in a respectful and loving way, and still this person doesn't want to listen to you or gets upset, because that means that you don't want a loyal friend, you want a follower. And I'm not willing to be a follower. I want something real, something true. And I've just learned that it's important for you to voice if there's something that you feel is not right. Be confident enough to say, hey, let's talk about this, let's sit down and and go through what we need to go through. Because at the end of the day, I really do feel that challenges and the disagreements, they really kind of form the foundation, and they make the foundation stronger, because how you respond and how you react and how you what you learn from the challenges and the person you become after, because you become a better friend, you become a more understanding person towards the person who you were disagreeing with, and you just grow in general. You honestly never think that someone that you hold so dear could become someone who you no longer want in your life. And even though you miss them and you miss those moments, like you don't want them in your life. And I think that's also something important to remember, that it's okay to miss someone and still not want them in your life, because you have outgrown them and their time in your life has come to pass, and that's totally okay. So another thing that happened is I wanted to buy a car, and this was around in March, and I was feeling like, I've made, a substantial amount of money, alhamdulillah, and also the circle that I was in, or am in, everyone is driving, and I just felt, I wouldn't say it's peer pressure, but I felt inspired, and I was like, if these girls and these friends of mine can do this and they can get to this place, I think I can also do the same. So I was like, you know what, it's time. And this is in 2019, right? I went for driving in 2017 January, and after I finished driving school, I didn't get into a car at all because I didn't have access to someone who had a ride or any of that. So I remember I would sit like in front, like I would get into a mat, and then I would sit like next to the driver, and I would watch what the driver was doing, just so that I could like not forget how to drive. I know it's crazy, but honestly I felt like it helped me, because I felt like I was doing what the driver was doing. But obviously you guys know that's not what driving is. So in 2019 I was like, you know what, it's time. I feel like I want to have that kind of independence, because also to some degree I felt like it would give me some sense of freedom to go, out and drive and whatever. And so I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to get a car. And so I told my family, and then my mom was like, you know what, because my mom has always said that she's going to buy a car, but like she never got around to it. So I think I also like pushed her to that point, because after I told her that I wanted to get a car, she was like, no, you just save that money and then I'm going to buy a car. So I was like, that's fine, I could get around with that. And then my friend was like, you know what, if your mom buys the car, that means the car belongs to your mom, but you're the one driving it. So what that means is that your mom is the one who calls the shots, and she'd be like, go here, do this, drive me here, blah blah blah. And I was like, you know what, it's fine, I can handle it. Yo, it is a lot. And then the thing is, saying no to your parents is it's difficult for me, to be honest, just because of that status that you give them, and like, I don't know, it's just difficult for me to be like, no, I want to do my things, So at the end of the day, you always end up putting others in front of yourself, just because you don't want any confrontations or anything like that. And it got to a point where like I was really exhausted, because sometimes you come home from work, you're tired, but you have to like either drop a visitor at their place, or like now you're coming back home and then you get a call, go pick up this or go get that or blah blah blah. And then the thing is, you can't take the car and just go where you want to go, because first of all you have to ask for permission to go, just as someone who's staying under your parents' roof. And then also now you have to ask for permission because the car doesn't belong to you. And then also there's so much that goes into that. When I come back, where you're going with, what time I'm going, blah blah blah. And then by the time it's like 5, maybe you haven't even done anything, 6, you get called and it's like, come back home, it's time for you to come home. So it was really like an adjustment. Also, I think just being comfortable driving, I was really tense, because I didn't have anyone to like teach me how to drive when I was first getting the car, because I knew how to drive. I had my license already, but like an experienced driver, I didn't have that with me. So I was just kind of going in on my own. And I remember telling myself that if all these other people can do it, I can definitely do it. And I remember just kind of telling that to myself and be like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And funny enough, I did it, and now I'm like driving wherever, and feeling very confident in myself and very like in control. So alhamdulillah for that. First thing I would say is I'm grateful that first of all I did not get the car, because I think when you get like when you're young and you've made like a large amount of money, like large amount of money is relative, but like this is the first time you've made this amount of cash and you're like, oh my god, you know I have money, I can do this. But actually, I learned something recently, which is that if you can't buy it twice, then you can't afford it. And it's not about buying twice and then you have like cents left. No, it's about like you can buy it twice and you can still live your life like the way you normally live, not like you're struggling or whatever. And honestly, if I think about it in that way, I could not afford a car at that time. So I'm grateful that I did not buy a car, to be honest. Secondly, I think it's important because this was a goal for me in 2019. I was like, in 2019 I am learning how, like, I'm getting in a car and I'm driving and I'm getting on the road. And if I hadn't pushed myself, because sometimes we rely so much on other people to support us and to be there for us and to make things comfortable for us, and sometimes you don't have that, or sometimes you might even have that, but because you don't believe in yourself, you still aren't able to follow through and smash that goal. And I think it's important to always remember that you are honestly the one who's in control. You decide what you want. You decide if you're going to go for this goal, if you're going to let fear get in the way, if you're going to quit. All of these things, you are the one who determines. So whatever goal you may have for 2020, just remember that if you set your mind to it and if you really want to do it, honestly, there's no one who can stop you. What else happened in 2019? I think also work was like a big thing for me in 2019, but not in the way that it was before. I started working in 2017, and so for now I've been working for like 3 years. And honestly, the first year I think I was just like trying to catch myself and like get myself kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but this was my first job actually. And so there was a lot I didn't know, but I also wanted to prove that I deserved to be there. So and one thing I would say, if this is your entry level job, you will honestly do anything and everything, and that's totally okay. And I honestly advise that. Do whatever you need to do to gain skills, to make connections and network, and also to show that you are a hard worker. So don't be picky, especially if it's your first job. Don't be picky. Don't be like, oh, this is beneath me. I don't do dishes. I don't clean. I don't type letters or blah blah blah. I don't do whatever. No. Take everything positively and learn from that, because your entry level job is honestly so important in directing you in terms of your career. Essentially, you do everything that you needed to do. If you needed to file, if you need to record, if you need to organize meetings, if you need to make tea, if you need to blah blah blah, all those things, honestly do them, and do them wholeheartedly, because you meet so many people and you honestly never know who you're going to meet. And these people are the same ones who are going to direct you in terms of your career. They're going to be like, these are the people you can go to basically and ask and be like, okay, so what does this entail, and that will give you a better idea of where you want to be and where you want to place yourself, because it's going to get to a point where you're going to either want a change in your job title, or you're going to want a promotion, or all of that. So for me, my first 2 years was definitely kind of learning how to walk and proving myself to myself, and also just making connections and learning how things are done. I think 2019 was the least stressful year. I was honestly really calm for most of the time. I didn't let people at work or supervisors get to me as much. But one thing I came to realize is that I felt stuck, and I think that's something that I want to work on in 2020. You know, human beings are goal oriented, and there's things that we need goals, and we need to aim for things so that we can be productive, so that we can feel, that we've achieved something. And it's kind of like I feel like I'm doing things, but I'm not growing, and I'm not learning anything new. And the problem is sometimes in your department, depending on your organization, sometimes you don't really have anyone to talk to. And this is why it's important to have mentors, to be honest. I think it's important to also look at yourself in terms of your career. Like, what have you learned? What mistakes did you make at work? What challenges did you experience? Like, where do you want to be? Where do you see yourself? What did you enjoy most? What's your biggest achievement at work? And when I ask myself these questions, honestly, there's very little answers that I can come up with, because what achievement there was no big thing that I did at work. And this is not to say that you should, like, you're very new at work and then you're just like, you want the big projects and you want the creative projects. No, that's not how it's going to work. You have to really build yourself and grow first before you can get to a point where you are being trusted with certain projects or certain degree of work. Also, I went for training for work, which is also something that not everyone gets a chance to do. So I'm very grateful, honestly. And I'm also very grateful for my work, because honestly in Kenya, work is a privilege. And I think as young people, sometimes we get not carried away, but like, because we are desperate to find jobs, sometimes we can tolerate things that we shouldn't tolerate, or we can be in spaces that we feel very suffocated in, and we just stay there because work is a privilege, and so many people are out there overqualified and jobless. And so we always tell ourselves that this is, if I'm not here, then where will I be, where will I go? Because honestly, it is a reality. And I think, first of all, learn everything that you can learn, and do all the work that you can do to improve your skills and grow before you decide that, okay, maybe I don't want to do this anymore, or I want to be self-employed or whatever. I went for training, and I want to share one thing that I learned, which is that we always look at family as support and work as the technical. So work is like the important thing, and then family is there to kind of like support you and like push you and all that. But actually, you are working to support your family, and it's not the other way around, that your family is supporting your work. Because ultimately, you will leave your job, or you will retire, and you'll go back home to your family. And I think for me, it hit home because I used to work, like I used to put everything on hold for work. Like, it doesn't matter, it's a Saturday, it's a Sunday, I'm there. When it comes to work, you're easily replaceable. Like, honestly, you could be the best person for that job. Like, if you're not at work, honestly, someone else will do the job. It's not like the company is going to suffer because you're not there, or because like one person, or even two, or even three. But with your family, like, you're the only you that's there, and that's important. And people value you in your family, and people care about you. Rizq comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if it's meant for you, it's meant for you, and if it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you. Just put in the work, do the time, and leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah everything will work out for the best. Late in 2019, like in around December, we got robbed. And what this experience made me realize is that honestly, you need to take care of yourself, especially as a female, whether that involves taking self-defense classes, whether that involves having certain numbers on speed dial, carrying a certain weapon, or whatever. It's so important to be able to handle yourself when shit hits the fan. And we need to stop teaching girls to constantly depend on someone to take care of them. I'm big on, you know what, if you have like a brother, if you have someone, a dude to escort you somewhere or whatever, definitely do that. But what if you don't have that? What if you don't have a guy friend, you don't have a brother? What if you're living in an all female household? Are you just going to like just be vulnerable because you're female? No, you're going to have to learn to handle yourself and be responsible about the things that you do. So I think it's important to honestly teach girls simple things. Self-defense. Honestly, I don't even understand why girls don't learn these things in PE class, because that's essentially where you should learn these things. Don't ever think that because you're female or because you're petite or because you're this, you can't do it. No, you can definitely do it. You just need to know how to handle yourself. I've said that like 5 times already, but you guys get the point. Like, it's important to accept the situation that you're in, and this is our situation, and we can't really change it like overnight. So we have to put in necessary, you know, just do what you need to do to be safe. Whether that means you need to tell someone every time you leave the house, you need to call someone, you need to send someone your location or blah blah blah, do it. I feel like 2019 was honestly a big year for me. It was a difficult year for me, to be honest, but it was also a very fruitful year. I learned a lot of things through difficult experiences, and no one likes to go through difficult experiences, but it's just part of life. So I don't know, what lessons did you guys learn? Comment down below one lesson that 2019 taught you, and I obviously love reading your comments and listening to what you guys have to say. So I hope you guys are doing great. Make sure you stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.